After 2 years of distance learning, the government finally allows schools to hold face-to-face classes as students and teachers across the country gear up for the school opening. But the return to classroom order draws mixed reactions from parents and educational institutions amid the lingering COVID-19 pandemic. On the other hand, the business sector views in-person learning as a means to boost the struggling economy. All right, let's clarify that face-to-face classes by November for grade school and high school. Good evening. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. Our first guest tonight is the chairman of the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED. Joining me via Zoom is Prospero Popoy Rivera. Glad you can join us, sir. Thank you very much for being with us. Of course, DepEd is the one that has jurisdiction over grade school and high school, but college po ang hawak po ninyo. And syempre, nung pinag-usapan po, sir, yung face-to-face classes by November for grade school and high school, ang daming nagsabi, paano yung college, no? You do have a decision on that. Can you share more on that with us, sir?
Well, thank you, Pia, for inviting me, because I think I have been misquoted and misunderstood lately in the media. No? When I said that CHED does not need to require universities to go to face-to-face, it is because the universities have been doing face-to-face since last year. Remember, universities were allowed in medical and health sciences to do face-to-face in January of last year. In 2021, the engineering and technology programs were allowed in September. And in November, CHED already allowed all universities in all degree programs to do face-to-face classes. I think the Manila media was not able to see it because the universities wanted to open in the second semester, but Metro Manila saw a spike in COVID infections. That's why you didn't see in the second semester Metro Manila schools open for face-to-face. But the schools outside of Metro Manila, many have already started face-to-face in January of 2022. We already allowed the graduation ceremonies, even sports competition. UAAP and NCAA completed their basketball championship face-to-face early this year. And tomorrow, I am going to General Santos to give the commencement address in MSU Jensen in face-to-face mode. So all the graduation ceremonies in universities are now face-to-face. So we started very early, so there is no more need to tell them to do face-to-face because many have started and most are doing face-to-face in the opening of classes this August.
Okay, so medyo, kumbaga, nagkamali lang ng headline.
Kasi yun lang, kasi parang ang lumabas sa media,
kasi
parang ayaw
mahaba
daw
kasi explanation.
ng face-to-face. Last year pa nag-face-to-face ang mga schools. So I don't know
so, what are you allowing?
There is a question on higher ed.
So Sir Popoy, in other words, what are you allowing? Because you allowed it na before, para mang ganon. Like you said, in certain programs.
January of 2021, we allowed it. Because the vaccination levels last year in higher ed really started to go up. We were very aggressive in school-based vaccination. So currently, the vaccination rate for faculty and administrators is already at 90%. And the vaccination rate for students is already at 80%. So the vaccination levels already allows schools to allow their students to go and attend classes. We have been working hard in vaccination since last year. We're now working on the booster shots in vaccination.
Okay. So dapat ang headline, CHED, matagal nang pinapayagan ang ibang mga kolehiyo at universidad na mag-face-to-face classes, in other words. Ganun na lang.
Ang nangyari tuloy, Pia, tumatawag yung mga school president sa akin, nagtatanong kung meron daw silang hihintay instruction. Sabi ko, last year pa kayo nagbukas, why do I need to instruct you now?
Yeah, okay. So, all right. So, na-confuse lang. So, in other words, you don't really need to give an instruction, like you said. No, why do I need to instruct you now? You've been doing that anyway, and you know, I guess what we're saying here is that colleges and universities are encouraged to go full mode for face-to-face kung kakayanin at kung walang surge. Because obviously, common sense, sentido común, will dictate na kung may surge, medyo mahirapan tayo mag face-to-face. No? And not just for colleges, but for grade school and high school.
Well, because the IATF rules allow 100% face-to-face in alert level 1. So in areas that are still under alert level 2, the IATF rules allow only until 60% face-to-face. So we have to abide by that unless the IATF now changes the alert level and says everyone, even an alert level 2, can do 100%. And the schools will comply based on the rules of the IATF and their local governments.
Yeah. And as you pointed out, Sir Popoy, kanina, no, meron nang UAAP, may NCAA. Talo nga kami.
Nag-championship. Tapos na championship. Nag-championship.
I knew you were going to say that.
Nag-champion na UP. Full face-to-face.
Sasabihin ko nga, natalo nga kami.
Tapos na rin ang volleyball. Full face-to-face. So I don't know why they're asking if face-to-face is allowed. Full contact sports is allowed face-to-face na.
Yeah, exactly. So kung full contact sports is allowed, dapat may full face-to-face classes. But anyway, okay. But Chairman Popoy, Commissioner Popoy, I wanted to ask you also, although this would have been nice to ask DepEd, unfortunately, medyo hindi available sila, no? Can you speak about, the importance for learners to be able to have physical interaction, to be together in a classroom, to be discussing with the teacher and with classmates, no? How important is that, the interaction and, having people in, students or learners in a room, in a classroom together?
It's very important because remember, in education, socialization and developing values with respect to other students is very critical. But equally important is really the skill set that they need to acquire. So yung mga degree programs that require skills such as IT, health sciences, maritime, inuna natin yan last year na mag face-to-face na kahit na meron pang COVID. Kasi we are worried that they will not get the necessary training and they might not turn out to be good doctors or nurses or seafarers. So inuna natin yan last year. We pushed for the opening of face-to-face classes in the medical and allied health sciences, January of 2021. So we're very serious. Ngayon, yung ibang degree programs that are not very skills-based, pwede na rin magbukas since November of last year.
Okay. So, Commissioner De Vera, itong kanina nabanggit nyo po, no, na we have a good vaccination rate. However, the challenge, more correctly now, is that yung second booster is only available for certain priority sectors. So would you, as CHED Commissioner, want to urge government to allow, expand na itong second booster shot coverage para mas malakas ang loob ng mga, hindi lang ng estudyante, ng mga magulang nila, pati ng mga teachers and, school personnel na to go back to school? Should we do that already?
Oh yes, we have been pushing for the vaccination of everyone in the higher education sector. Kaya doon sa IATF dati, ako yung nakipaglaban na i-upgrade yung classification ng education personnel from B1 to A4 para mauna silang vaccinate. No? We need now to focus on the boosters for everyone, not just the seniors, not just the health workers, but everyone. We need to be very aggressive.
Not just the immunocompromised. Lahat na, total, ang dami pang stock ng bakuna sa atin na lang, parang ganon. Dahil marami namang willing magpa-second booster.
Saka,
we just don't fall under the A1 to A3.
At saka Pia, successful ang school-based vaccination. Kasi madaling mag-monitor if it's in the school because there's a list of students, there's a master list. You can really track how much and how many are being vaccinated every vaccination activity. And we require the schools to report almost every week on the percentage of vaccination. Kaya mataas sa higher education ang vaccination rate.
Final words, Commissioner De Vera?
Well, thank you for inviting me. I was able to clarify the story because I saw several news outlets saying that I am leaving it to the school to decide whether they will do face-to-face or not, or I have been quoted as saying I will not require. You know, there is no need for the CHED anymore to intervene because the schools have been doing face-to-face since last year. What we're doing is monitoring them and helping them if they have any problems. No? Yung ibang schools kasi, ang problema, we require mandatory consultation with parents and students. In some of the schools, the parents and the students are reluctant. So, and the schools have to do a better job of convincing them of the safety of students so they can go back to school. No? We've also been funding schools to improve their connectivity to become smart campuses. And many of them have already implemented the Smart Campus project from Bayanihan too. So malakas na yung signal do sa kanilang schools. I just came from Sulu State College last week. And inside the campus, the connectivity is already much stronger. So that will help the students and the school do better, better learning.
Well, that's good to know about the Sulu Wi-Fi there. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. And also, you're welcome, sir. And thank you so much for your time. And thank you for that very well-explained clarification. CHED Commissioner Popoy De Vera. Salamat po, sir. We'll still talk about the opening of classes. Actually, opening of classes and face-to-face classes by November as the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry joins us next. Keep it here on CNN Philippines.
Everybody who is enrolled should abide by the department order, and parents are also encouraged to ensure that their students go to school. Again, we're trying to do some education or learning recovery, so this is the right time for us to undertake the face-to-face.
Kailangan pag-usapan yung realities eh. Okay naman yung yung mga ganyang suggested implementation of the policy na mag-pull nga face-to-face na tayo. Kaya lang different schools have different situations.
Welcome back. This is Politics as usual. Our next guest will talk about face-to-face classes by November. He is the president of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. George Barcelona, joining us live via Zoom. Mr. Barcelona, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Yeah. Tell us why PCCI thinks that students should be going back to school for face-to-face classes by November.
Yeah. Good evening, Pia. Well, I think we have to learn to live with the COVID. We have to normalize, our not only the economy, but also the education of our young. And what's important is really now that whoever is designated as the Secretary of Health should work closely with the Department of Education that's headed by Vice President Sara and set out the protocols that's needed. I think, what can be done. Of course, earlier I heard you talk with Popoy, the Commissioner of CHED, that it's up to the school to make the decision, backed up by student to be vaccinated. Of course, there has been some clamor on the other side that there hasn't been any strong indication that the children, since they have a stronger natural immunity, requires that. But I leave it to the professional, on that matter. In our take is that we need to have a protocol to do the testing at the lowest level. Meaning to say, the barangay should be given a testing kit. And, each family, I think after the experience about COVID-19 for 2 years, the general populace, our citizens, are responsible. As a matter of fact, they only, for the rapid antigen test, what we gather from the medical field is only that a person use them when there are symptoms. Okay, so I can imagine if this were made available at that at level wherein a family can look out for themselves. If the young doesn't have any symptoms, they should be allowed to go to school. If the adult, the productive part of the family, they should be going to work. And I think that's the only way. I wouldn't want to put the the authority of who can go to school, who will not go to school. I will give that responsibility to the responsible family to decide. But the school must open. For the last year and a half, really, ang mga kabataan natin talagang wala silang natuto sa, especially for those marginalized, no?
Right.
Wala naman silang Wi-Fi.
Oo.
And
Or kung may
I feel
Wi-Fi,
that,
oo. Or kung may Wi-Fi man, sir.
in the business sector, you're losing some moving forward. No, we're really looking at the rebound in our economy, and then we do need young, well-trained young people to be part of the workforce. So that's a bit of our concern. And I was asked, is it because to help the economy? I said that's secondary. The primary is really to have our young
Right.
go back to normal life. No? Yung
Right.
interaction,
Oo.
yung tumatakbo sila sa eskwela, and that's, I think that's
Yeah.
very important.
Interaction, socialization, as Popoy De Vera was explaining earlier. And, well, we all have our experiences where our children talk about missing school, missing their friends, not being able, and I've heard before, no, there are some kids who don't know how to make friends anymore, hindi na sanay na makipag-usap sa kapwa bata. So the effect is so deep. At the same time,
Yes.
sir, kanina, di ba, may nabanggit kayo, halimbawa, Wi-Fi, may Wi-Fi na nga, tapos yung telepono niya, hindi naman talaga smartphone or medyo lumang modelo, and therefore, it becomes such an issue for them. But I wanted to ask
Yes.
more, sir, about itong yung economic rebound. That's so important, of course, no. But can you be more specific? Like, how exactly is this going to happen? When make it more, illustrate it more for us. What's going to happen when more people go back to school? All along the way. Ano yung mga benefits?
Alam mo, Pia, ako naman, realistic ako. We definitely cannot contain 100% the infection of
Right.
COVID-19. Pero ang nakikita natin ngayon, yung mga na-infected, medyo mild, no? Yung sinasabi natin na dati flatten the curve, no? Ibig sabihin, hindi naman na-overwhelm yung mga hospital natin. And all indication shows that the numbers of infections are up, but the hospital are still able to deal with it. Okay? So that's a safe sign. Now, on the side of really the Department of Health and getting ready, is that whatever medication that's needed, no, to deal with it. I will admit, na COVID din ako eh. Nadali rin ako sa COVID eh. Okay. And of course, I didn't know where I got it. But my experience is that yes, it's like a flu, sipon, lagnat. But after a few days, it tapers off. And then, but you just have to wait for the to be safe, no? Yung rapid antigen test to be negative. So I went through that, and but as you were saying about children, no, I can see yung mga apo ko. I was telling them baka yung mata nila maging kwadrado lang eh. Kasi they're always looking at the iPad.
Screen, yeah.
Walang interaction sa mga kapong kaklase niya. And really, I see how the marginalized, suffer. I have people come to me borrowing money for the Wi-Fi card, but they're using, as you said, regular phone. Ano ka matuto ka sa regular phone? Mahirap. And then the budget, our budget for education dito sa GAA is one of the biggest. It's about 18% of the annual budget. So we have to make use of that. No, that's why the protocol is important. The school, both school and local government, must work hand in hand. And really, the society naman we've gone through 18 months or 2 years, no? May experience na tayo, and I hand it to the citizen because I think they are responsible now.
Sir George, earlier I asked this of Commissioner Popoy de Vera. Would would the business sector urge the second booster shot for more sectors? Because right now it's A1 to A3 hanggang immunocompromised. And then, there's talk about the waning effectiveness of the first booster shot. Tapos, we're talking about school begins in August and then November, sana, full face-to-face classes. Dapat na ba mag-second booster na yung the rest of the population?
Pero,
ang laki-laki ng supply. Ang kulang ang
yung
uptake.
second booster or whatever, no, it's really supposed to be na, halimbawa, nahawa ka, the symptoms should not be severe. Okay? That's one. Ngayon, I've been asked questions because sometimes in a forum, we also sort of gravitate towards, to be safe, mag-booster shots kayo. And I was asked a question, and I think the Department of Health should address this. No? Sabi niya, sir, nagpapabuna kami. Pero ano bang guarantee namin? Because all of these vaccination are still under EUA, Emergency Use Authority. Samantala, buong mundo, I think there must be about 5 billion jobs already. So it's all, I think our Department of Health and Pharmaceutical must be cognizant of the fact that it's about time na people are taking their vaccination. There are certain cases na may side effect. Alam ko yung Philippine our health, no? Sila nagsasalo ng problema. But it's about time. The big companies, they should also, like any drugs, when you're out in the market, you should take certain responsibility. So I was asked that question, and I'm just sharing with you. There bound to be some sector in the society, takot sila sa bakuna.
Okay. Sir George Barcelona of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or PCCI. Sir, maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Up next, our correspondents joining us on the challenges of DepEd's order for mandatory face-to-face classes by November 2. This is Politics as usual. Stay tuned. This is Politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. We are on our final stretch. Joining me now are CNN Philippines correspondents Melissa Lopez and AC Nichols. AC, of course, did that story earlier on DepEd and the grade school and high school going back full face-to-face classes in November. Melissa Lopez did the CHED story for colleges and universities. Let's begin with Mel. Mel, itong mga colleges and universities, quite a bit of them, some of the programs had already been face-to-face as early as the earlier part of the year. No? So what Popoy de Vera was saying earlier was that it's not like he has to give an instruction or CHED has to instruct them as to what to do, but parang things will take its natural course. Can you talk to us more about that?
That's right. Actually, Pia, it's all started 2021, late 2021. Some of the colleges had already been given authority to do limited face-to-face, although parang limited siya to specific courses which need hands-on training, yung mga parang practicum or clerkship for like nurses and physical therapy courses. Before, the policy was you had to seek approval of both the CHED and the local government before you can offer, bring back the students. But it has been eased. The policy has been eased as early as earlier this year. I think it was March when the CHED order came out. Na as long as the area is under alert level 1 and 2, no more requirement to seek prior approval before you can take your students back in. It has. They also allowed 100% capacity in classrooms. Pero yung mga physical distancing policies, kung gusto acrylic barriers, call na yan ng school. So this is operating mainly on the premise na kumbaga adults na sila eh. They're they're earlier vaccinated now compared to our basic education students. That's why there's this freedom in place for colleges and universities to make that call.
And of course, quite a number of students are just raring to go back to school. Kanina nga, may binanggit pa nga si Commissioner Popoy na meron na nga tayong full contact sports, di ba? UAAP and CAA. Tapos yung klase, hindi pa natin magawa. Right, Mel?
Right. Actually, concerts are also being scheduled na, no? Pero nagsisimula naman yung schools with a graduation. So medyo, kumbaga, anticlimactic kasi they're gonna see each other again. Graduate na sila. But I guess that's where we start. And maybe, Chairman De Vera said earlier today that he expects a really significant shift na starting the next school year, malamang most, if not all, of the schools will already go back to face-to-face kasi 2 years has been too long.
That's right. 2 years has been too long. I'm sure Mel can speak to this, but I wanted AC to talk more about this. No, the importance of socialization, the importance of being in the same classroom, interacting with your classmates, with your friends. And AC, this is so important, especially for mga grade schoolers, no, and mga high schoolers, right, AC?
Yes, exactly. This is why the Department of Education also, since last year nga, has been pushing for more students to go back to in-person classes. So, as you mentioned, especially for the younger students, marami din kasing parents na although in the beginning there was hesitation on their part dahil natatakot sila, of course, dahil maraming nahahawa ng COVID-19, pero later on na-realize nila din yung disadvantages nung nasa bahay lang yung mga anak nila, lalong-lalo na yung start ng schooling, no, nag-kinder nung 2020, so never pang naka-experience ng everyday pumapasok, nakikita yung mga classmates, nakakapag-socialize, and studies show naman na may effect din talaga yung lack of socialization with other children, may epekto din sa personality ng mga bata. And as Chairman Popoy was mentioning then earlier, I want to note that even naman in the basic education sector, the concept of face-to-face classes is not new na. Since last year, it was initially implemented as limited face-to-face and then eventually expanded. The implementation was expanded, no? So marami na rin talagang mga schools na nag-implement ng face-to-face classes. But the new concept kasi that the new administration wants to push is yung full capacity in-person classes na. And ito yung possible Pia na maging challenge sa maraming basic education schools, particularly those in urban areas like in Metro Manila kasi alam naman natin na overcrowding is a common issue.
Overcrowding, kanina nga, no, in your report, you interviewed the principal of Rizal High School and challenge na nga, no, yung paano pupunuin nila yung mga classroom nila. Ito na naman tayo, no, AC?
Yes, ayun nga kasi sa mga nakausap ko na mga school officials, pre-pandemic, their style talaga is shifting. So they would do shifting, morning shift and then afternoon shift para lang makapasok lahat ng bata kasi nga hindi talaga sila kasya. No? They don't have enough classrooms to hold everyone. And mind you, yung shifting na yon per class, umaabot pa rin sila ng 50, sometimes 60, even 100, yung mga talagang very congested public schools. And in particular, nakausap ko kanina sa Rizal High School in Pasig City. They have over 12,000 students, no? And kailangan talaga nila more than 200 classrooms, Pia. Pero sa ngayon, ang available lang is over 100. Problema pa nila, ang daming classrooms na hiniram ng local government unit for isolation facilities. So right now, the school officials are really struggling. They don't know kung paano yung gagawin nila. If pre-pandemic, they're doing 2 shifts, paano ngayon? Kung papasok lahat, 4 shifts? Would that mean just 2 hours of in-person time with the teacher? And if they do that, may matututunan ba talaga yung mga bata? Parang that's also one question that teachers have. So right now, ang dami nilang mga meetings, nag-uusap-usap sila, they want to come up with possible solutions. And at the end of the day, ang sabi nga sa akin ng principal na nakausap ko kanina, wala silang choice but to be creative kung talagang ipupush yan ng Department of Education, Pia.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight, AC Nichols and Mel Lopez. You know, there's nothing like reporters out in the field, journalists on the ground. Maraming salamat sa inyong dalawa. We've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or the family reunion or in Viber groups, and risk warfare, digital and otherwise. But we can talk about it here at this table on this show, your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. See you back here next Wednesday, 8 p.m.